I'm a little disheveled today.
Where you been?
I haven't greased down the old hair. Look at that.
Where you been? There you go.
Nothing. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Unpacking Some Shit with Wise and McKinsey. My name's Tom Wise.
And I'm Melinda McKinsey.
And what's our backstory?
Our backstory is that you and I have been friends, I don't know, 15, 20 years. We both work in television. We did improv together, and we decided to do a radio show several years ago. And we had such fun, and it was so successful that we were going to continue it forever. And then I moved to New York.
Wah, wah.
Wah, wah.
Well, I think we evolved from the radio show to a podcast of sorts. Right?
Yeah.
We used to go to the studio back in Clearwater.
Yes.
And actually, we probably put on, 24 shows?
Yeah, it was great.
3 shows? Yeah. My brother Patrick was in there too.
Yeah.
I talked to Pat yesterday. I asked him if he wants to come back, and less than enthusiastic.
Patrick.
I said, "This is a juggernaut. It's a rocket ready to go into space."
Well, Patrick isn't. I'm going to say Patrick isn't as spontaneous as you are. So I kind of see where it's a little bit harder for him to wrap his brain around. Well, how will I be prepared? What do you guys have scattergraphs? How do we do this? So
we're going to be living together soon, Patrick and I.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So now we're in a pandemic, and you and I decided to do this again because we have great conversations, you and I, about relationships, about sexuality, about things I would love other people to talk about that I think they might be a little uncomfortable. And so you and I just rip that Band-Aid off.
I don't know if can we judge our own conversations as being great? I think you need an independent third party.
I'm going to judge them. For me, they're great. Great.
I think they're great too, but they're great. But I always think when someone says, "Let me tell you something interesting," and I'm saying, "Isn't it up to me to decide?" Right?
Well, I think we've all had conversations that weren't great.
Of course.
And so we can distinguish.
It's subjective, though.
Yes, it is subjective, but that's why we're doing this, is that we open up some territory and we ask for participation. We have a great audience that fills us in, and we have great guests. And so that's why you and I do this show.
Yes, absolutely. Hey, Steve Laszlo may be joining us on Wednesday, local comedian.
Hey, that's very exciting, Steve.
Do you know Steve?
I do not.
Oh, he's the guy. He's the top dog runner for,
I've heard of him. I don't know him as a person, but I have heard of him.
Yeah, it's a good friend of mine.
So when right before we started recording, you had a story, and we decided to save it for the show. So I'm quite excited to hear about this scenario.
Yes, I waited an hour for a date. Why is I don't know if the women understand this. I wouldn't understand if women ever have this happen, because most of the times, I mean, have you ever traveled somewhere to date somebody certainly for the first date? Have you ever traveled anywhere?
I have.
Meet somebody halfway? Okay, but more towards them. Let's say if you and I lived 20 miles away.
Okay.
Would you travel 10? Would you travel 15? Would you travel 20?
I will say, I don't know if this is unusual or not. I have no problem traveling.
Yeah.
To meet somebody. I really don't. And then as long as it goes back and forth, I'm happy to go all the way.
I mean, first date out of the box.
I would hope first date that we could meet in the middle. I would be I wouldn't feel weird about that at all. On the first date, if he asked me to meet him, I would probably get a little ruffled about it, to be real honest, and go, "What the fuck? You can't make the effort? Like, come on."
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I always think the same thing. Like, especially if somebody lives in St. Pete.
Yeah.
They're used to, Anyway, I said, let me come your way, which is about a 45-minute ride.
Okay.
But I've also experienced the same thing with buddies you're picking up going to a ball game, or you going to the movie. All right, I'll slide by, pick you up. It's a 28-minute drive for me to get to you because you're on the way, and then you're late. You're just getting your shoes on, just looking for a shirt. It's like, I'm here on time, and I've drove all the way, and that you're not ready.
Yeah. It's disrespectful.
Who's this in your life? Someone popped up in your life?
I can't say that. Yes, there's always people.
Everybody watching and listening had somebody pop up in their life. Oh yeah, that's just like my fill in the blank.
So what happened? First of all, did you wait with no messages for an hour? How did this pan out?
Well, of course, as I'm parking the car and I'm 5 minutes early, I've given myself a little bit of leeway. we're planning a meeting at an outdoor space in St. Pete, like a bar outside a rooftop bar.
Okay.
This is nice. So I'm walking, and then I get the message, 4 minutes before we're supposed to be. Oh, I'm running late. All
At
right.
4 minutes before, she didn't know sooner than that.
You're asking me questions. I'm just giving you the information I have.
All right.
So, because once I'm in transit, I'm done. I'm committed. I'm like an airplane. Once you hit 80 miles an hour, you're leaving the runway, whether you want to or not, because you're going to run out of, if you try to apply the brakes, you're going to run out of runway before you're going to stop. So you're going to go up in the air and just maybe circle around.
So 4 minutes before tells me she might be 5 minutes late. 4 minutes
Yeah,
before.
I'm just leaving, or I'm looking for parking or whatever.
Right.
Running late.
Was she in St. Pete?
Yeah, she presumably lived, literally a mile away from where we're going.
So then what happened after did she say I'm running an hour late?
Okay, so then I said, I'm going to go upstairs and I'll see if I can locate a little spot outside in the bar.
Yeah.
I forget what the exact details were, but we're 15 minutes into it. I report, hey, you know, I have located a spot. It's a little loud up here as there's a lot of speakers. It wasn't, people were outside and it's a little loud. I said, maybe on the street might be better. She goes, well, yeah, let's do that. And I'm going to be a little bit later yet. And I said, okay, 20, 30 minutes.
She didn't even give you a number?
No, she didn't. But I decided to throw out a really huge number to see what the what the reaction would be.
Okay.
Not like 5 or 10. No, I'm going to say 20 or 30. So she says 20. I go, all right. So I finish my cocktail. You know what? I'm in a place like whatever happens, happens. I've done my part of the deal. I've done my part of my agreement. And, it all goes in a blender and it all mixes up at some point is like, what's
Yeah.
going on already. It's pretty much um, the wrong foot. Maybe she's not even coming at all. Who knows who knows what's going on really. Right. You know what I'm saying?
I guess.
There's no skin in the game. We haven't been talking for months, and now we're going to do something. But it's like you never know. So I finished my drink. I chat up the people around me. We have finished my drink. They want some seats. I leave early. I make myself scarce. Go downstairs, and then there's another big outdoor space. I mean, now it's
Okay.
getting to be not so crowded. I mean, it hasn't been crowded anyway. But
Right.
I find a space on a couch with 6 empty seats around me, and I park it. The Rays game is on. I order a drink, and it's a lovely evening. I'm relaxed.
Okay. I wouldn't be, but okay.
Well, you know what? At the end of the day, I can't. The only thing I can affect is what?
You.
That's right. Do I want to get mad? No. I've driven 48 minutes. It doesn't hurt that I've got a half a cocktail in me.
I know.
But I'm not going to be mad. It's going to be what it's going to be.
Okay.
I feel like
So
I feel like I'm Gandhi on a date.
you really are Gandhi on a date. I don't know many other men that would stay. I mean, it seems purposeful and disrespectful.
Yeah, I had a number in my head. I think at one point she said, I'm 5 minutes. And I said, well, because that's about how much longer I'm going to wait. So that might be a workout fine.
And did she show?
She does show.
And then how did she make her entrance? Dying to know this.
It was funny because I'm sitting on the couch watching the game, looking back at the bar.
Yes.
But it's I'm going to guess it's much like a New York scenario where they pushed out the cafe, they pushed it into the street
Yeah.
because we need to be outside space. You guys probably aren't even doing that, I would imagine.
No, not really.
Well, now you could be outside. They've commandeered the parking lane and they put chairs and they put blockades, and now you've got at least that space. And I'm far away from everybody. I'm not even near anybody. Even the waitress is like, "Are you here? Are you interested in being serviced?" So anyway, she slides in from the side. I don't even see her coming.
Okay.
And she puts her hand on my leg and my one hand on my shoulder. She goes, I couldn't be any more sorry. I couldn't be sorrier. And she looks like she's about to start crying. I go, no, just relax. Just relax.
Did we
She goes,
hear why she's
she
so
goes,
sad?
I've got two teenage daughters, and everyone's losing their minds. So it is what it is. That's what she said. I said, just
Okay.
relax.
Does she look like her picture?
Yes,
Okay. Oh,
yes. I was, it was very interesting because very often folks don't look like their pictures, but she
that's
was kind
right.
of like an outdoorsy woman from Colorado, and I saw a lot of pictures. I said, you don't see a lot of that in Florida. Usually, it's somebody their legs on the beach,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
at a ball game or something. But
Yeah.
this was a lot of hiking pictures and a lot of
Okay.
skiing stuff. So, oh, that's very
So
interesting.
how did it go then after?
I think it went pleasantly.
Okay.
I mean, she couldn't have been any more sorry. She almost started crying twice, even recounting how sorry she was. I said,
Wow.
that's
Well,
fine.
especially two teenage daughters. That's horrible. Teenage
Yeah.
daughters are mind fuckers.
One was 17, the other was like 13 or 14, I
No,
think.
that's the
I said, I
worst.
said, you know what? I said, and it's funny because I was having a similar conversation with somebody the other day about how it's the worst part of parenting is the fact that you can't stretch it out. Wouldn't it be nice if you had your kids and then 3 days a month you were just you could go anywhere you like, or you had some sort of help, or you just instead of just it's just dunning all the time. It can be very dunning, especially now with the COVID. You're teaching the kids in their home. I mean, I remember this guy was walking his kids he was in Publix, and he's got like a 7 and a 9-year-old, and they're just playfully having fun, running around a little bit, and he's angry. I just wanted to stop and say, just relax, enjoy your kids. They're going to be gone in 10 years or whatever they're going to be. And,
Right.
I don't know why you're so angry or what the deal's going
Yeah.
on. And I know kids can drive you crazy, but I'm saying, but you need to release that stress a little bit, reset, and enjoy your kids at some point
Yeah.
because they're all
Very.
going through these changes.
That's very true.
Uh,
Whew. Well, I'm
but
glad it turned out, and I'm glad you were patient because I don't think that's a typical scenario, really.
yeah, but but the things we're setting up, God darn it.
Gosh darn that whole visual stuff with the cameras and everything.
I mean, it was a nice night. I'm watching the Rays game. I'm having a cocktail. I'm sitting outside on a big comfy couch. I'm doing a little people watching. Versus what? I'm at home sitting on my couch watching the Rays game. Whatever. So versus whatever.
Okay, so you think you'll go out again?
Who knows? The whole teenager thing, the whole
Yeah.
driving thing. Who knows? But it was not a bad evening. It was nice.
Yeah, teenagers are rough. They don't really want you to live a life. That's
And there wasn't a lot of teenage information forwarded before we made the date.
okay. Okay. Yeah, that's very well. Good for her that she was able to do it, and that she had a sincere apology, and that
Oh,
you guys were. I mean, what a nice way to actually deal with a scenario that could have gone terribly wrong.
yeah. I mean, I would, but at some point, I'm going to go. You never know if you don't even know if the person exists
Yeah.
on some level until you see somebody in the physical.
Yes. Well, I'm glad it went well. I think as a woman, when I was on the dating apps, I would always try to arrive early because I just needed to catch my breath and look at the scenario. You know what I mean? And a couple times I went out with guys that were late, and it always kind of miffed me. And it wasn't a huge like 5-10 minutes, but it always felt a little disrespectful. Like, I don't even know you.
Can we even try a little bit? If this is the first time out of the
If
box,
this
and
the yeah, if
part of
this is
me
the
is I
first
just,
time,
ugh.
we're having some camera angle.
But and that's it. And you're starting off on the wrong foot.
Yeah,
You've lost power. You've lost authority. If you're there on time, she's on time. Now we're even. But if
yeah.
you're 20 minutes late, 8 minutes, and there's a number, 5 minutes is acceptable, 8 minutes, 12 minutes. Now we're going down the really wrong path because but the other person is thinking, oh, okay, so this is my future with this person. I'm going to be waiting.
Right. This is my value,
Do
right?
I want to? Yeah. Well, do I want to start a relationship with a person? I'm going to be waiting for it for the next 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I have to agree to that. Well, I'm glad that it went well. Good for you.
She was nice and she had interesting stories. We talked about kids a lot and stuff like that.
Yeah. Very good. And she looked like her picture, which is such a big deal. I wish it wasn't that big of a deal, but it is, because a lot of people lie about their photos. And I still have a real problem with that because, again, why would you want to look worse in person? Because then you're going to be a disappointment. I always made sure to have pictures that were good, but not fantastic. I wanted
Right.
people to be happy when they saw me.
Yes. Well, and then, some people have that perfect picture where the sun was right, lighting is right, and they were looking right. And they're, you know, 12 years ago when they were, 37 pounds lighter,
Yeah.
and that's the one they lead with, and like, oh, that's attractive. But if you go through picture number 5, whoa, what
Yeah.
happened?
Don't use those pictures with filters or anything else, because we don't look like that in real life,
Right.
and it's not healthy. And I don't want anybody to be disappointed, because real life is hard enough. It's hard enough without.
May I tell another story before we get in?
Oh, I want to know.
Another
Yes.
dating story. This is years ago though.
Yeah.
So I meet somebody on a website. We're chatting, and she keeps on saying she needs some vitamin D.
In that way.
Well, I'm reading it.
I mean, I think on a date, if you say you need vitamin D, I think that's a sexual flirtation, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, of course, I took it as that, and then it ended up no. She just wanted to go to the beach.
Chicken, even as a chick, I think, come on, man, you can't say you need vitamin D to a guy and him not go there. What are you doing?
Just you're trying to be a clever way of saying she wanted to get some sun.
No, that's a backfire.
Yeah, because I was like, yeah, are you ready for that vitamin D? Yeah, we could park here and go over there's a little beach place. We can there's access there.
That's your vitamin D. That's
I've
hilarious.
got your vitamin D right here.
That's hilarious.
Um,
Yes. I love that. I don't think I've ever said that on a date, because I feel super sensitive to those innuendos. I'm very, I feel like I'm very clear. And if I accidentally would say it, I would acknowledge it and go, oh, not that vitamin D, maybe later, this vitamin D.
well, it's funny. My ex is off. She's off in the wilderness now. She's doing a wonderful month-long journey,
Yes.
and she reported last night that starting to snow in New Mexico.
Yes.
And one of her friends
Yes.
chimed in and said, "Oh, I got 6 inches last night,"
Uh-oh.
and I'm like, oh, "Stay away from the keyboard. You
Stay
don't know.
away. Stay away.
You don't know these
She
people."
doesn't mean that.
I
Yeah.
said, "Really?" I said,
Woo.
"Really? You're gonna say that?" I
I
don't know.
think, here's the funny thing though, Tom. As a woman who was raised around women, I was unaware of these until I really got out in the workforce, and then in the comedy field. Then it became very clear to me you can't say things like
Yeah,
6 inches
that's
or
what she
vitamin
said.
D, because
Right.
it's just an open door
It's
to
just triggering.
it is a trigger.
All right, let's go with your topics, darling.
Okay,
Hell, that's
topic.
almost the whole show right there. 24 minutes in.
But that's okay. You know what? That's okay. And it's just you and I. It's no guests today. But I do want to say this about guests.
What?
Um, we've had some great guests,
We've
and we have
had
some
it.
people calling in asking to be guests. And if anybody has a suggestion for a guest, maybe if someone we don't know that they would like us to speak to, please let us know, because we love having guests on our show. It's really opened up some very interesting conversations. So we would be open to you sharing ideas of guests that you would like to have on the show. Okay, so here's what I have. Number one, I have reading old journals.
Ooh.
Uh-oh. Explain it. And so this just happened.
Let's do reading old journals. We'll take them in alphabetical order.
Okay, so here's what happened about the journals. I've been a journal person off and on, even before it became the trend to share and write your feelings. It's trendy to journal, right? It's become
Yeah,
very trendy.
yeah. What's her name up in the cellar did that during the World War II. You're not the first one.
No, I'm not the first one. I'm saying I did it for my own personal benefit before it became the thing of like,
And
find out
Frank.
what you really want in life. I was journaling because I was trying to figure some things out. So I have journals that date back to high school days, right? I still have them.
Really?
Yeah. And so I was going through some things the other day, and I found a journal that I had written in when I was 54. Now I'm 59. I'll be 60 in January. I was 54, And it kind of broke my heart because I shared some personal stuff about still trying to figure out like how I was such a fool in my marriage and where, because I'd already moved to New York by then. And it was interesting to read my personal thoughts because it brought back all those feelings. And then I was able to take a step back and go, wow, you're really not that girl anymore, are you? You're very different now, because I was writing about my anxiety over relationships and why didn't I see this? And, I wrote down about why I bought the journal that I bought and what I was going to do with it and how important it was to me, and I'm so glad that I wrote it down, because had I not written that down, I would have forgotten all about that moment in my life. And it turns out it's not always the big moments that change you. Sometimes it's those small moments of, you know what? I made an effort to write down how I was feeling about some anxiety. Did I solve all my problems? No, I didn't. But I'm definitely a stronger person than I was when I wrote that journal. And I don't hurt anymore when I think about those things, because I've gone on to the other side of
Right.
it. So, don't get caught up in I must journal every day and I must, make this an important day to journal. If you're ever just having any kind of a quiet moment, maybe jot something down in a journal and then look at it later. And I think for me, it was such a teachable moment of like, you know what, you've gone a lot farther in your life than what you recognize because you're so busy in it, right? You're in your life every day. And I'm really proud where I've landed because, I was married for a long time. I got a divorce and it was quite the scandal, and nobody was really supportive of like really staying together or getting divorced. I had both sides, right? Of like, you're going to destroy your family. You're going to destroy your family. And I was like, but what about me? What about me? It was destroying me. And it turned out to be the best decision I ever made. I mean, the last 10 years of my life have been really the happiest, other than, of course, my children have been the happiest because the last 10 years of my life have been about me. And so finding that journal really, it was really exceptional, and it felt really good to read something and go, you know what, you've come a long way, and I'm really proud of myself.
Well done. Yeah, it's funny how that, when you're in that moment, it seems everything, and then years later, with some perspective, it's like, oh yeah, I got through that, which can teach you a lesson about
Yeah.
not letting the moment paralyze you.
Yes.
It's funny.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast with Matthew McConaughey. It's odd you pick up this subject.
Yeah.
He journals as well, and he's journaled since he was a teenager.
Okay.
And then he was reading his journals back in his early 20s at some point and saying, "Oh, all my journals are about, bad things that are happening.
Huh?
This, this date that didn't go well. There's thing he didn't get." He goes, and then he becomes, you know, super popular in his 20s,
Yeah.
and then he's realizing that he's not journaling anymore or doesn't journal as much. But then he says to himself, you better journal this positive journey too, because now you'll have a way to reset and know what your thoughts are. So if you start spiraling in the wrong way, you can create a path that you can get back. To not necessarily success, but just
Right.
mental health and feeling good about yourself. You know?
Yes, your mental health is everything. And I wish that we promoted it more in schools and in everyday life, because I mean, we do talk, there's a mental health day now, but when I was growing up, when you were in school, if someone said they're going to therapy, wouldn't that have been stunning and shocking? And what's wrong with you?
Yeah, nobody's ever said that.
No.
High
And now,
school. Yeah.
no, and now there's online therapy, which is fantastic. So if you have like phobias about being out in public, I remember when I first started going to a therapist, I was very nervous about who else would be in the waiting room. What if I saw somebody I knew? And then come to find out, the first therapist I went to had a great thing where the way it was set up was you went into a room, and once they knew you were there, they buzzed you through. So you were in a private room until you met with the therapist. So you were by yourself. I wish they would have told me that, because I had a lot of anxiety about it, because I
Sure.
didn't want to see other people. Even though therapy is good, I just wanted to be in my private space, right? Of that. And then you left through a private door, which is really great. So yeah, I advocate therapy 100%. It's helped me so much dig out stuff I was hanging on to that wasn't good for me, opening my mind to things that were working against me because I was in such a fearful state, and learning that if you're afraid of something, it's just best to face it, because the hanging on to it makes it
Ugh,
so much worse.
it just wears you out.
Yeah, it wears you out. And truth, above all, is no matter how painful it is, it's much more painful to try to hide things. Hiding things does not work.
I concur. Even like in business situations,
Oh yeah.
take the worst thing you don't want to do, get it done early in the day, rather
Yes.
than just let it, you know, drain on your mind all day long or all week long as you keep on putting it off and putting it off.
Absolutely. So I didn't ask you your topics. I just dove right into mine.
You know what? Vitamin D was one. I kind of snuck it in, but they tied it in with the previous topic.
That was good.
And Rocket Man and 5 star, 1 star.
What is Rocket Man?
A
You,
Rocket Man is exactly what you think it's going to be in a certain sense, and it's just kind of an observation.
okay.
So Rocket Man famously has that those lyrics you don't understand,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Did you write them down?
Yeah. Rocket Man burning out his fuse up here alone. Nobody knows what those are, right?
No.
Burning out his fuse up here alone,
Yeah.
right? And I contend that they mumbled that phrase is good. That's a good writing for
Yeah.
that. You know, that makes sense and
Yeah.
people can relate to that. I said, why didn't he and Bernie Taupin decide to mumble the other lyrics?
Right.
Mars ain't the type of place to raise your kids. In fact, it's cold as hell, and there's no one there to raise them if you did. That little that little piece of nonsense, that should have been mumbled, and not the burning out a fuse up here alone. Am I right?
What I don't even know. Have you ever heard the backstory about this song? I
Who
don't.
knows? But how high were they when they wrote that lyric
Pretty
and
high.
decided that makes sense? Let's just go with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Pretty high. That's fascinating. I do that a lot though
I'm
with songs.
trying to. This is actually you've been. I was trying out new material.
Oh, look at you testing on me your new material for your stand up.
I think that there's something there.
No, there absolutely is. Everybody knows Rocket Man. When you mentioned Rocket Man the first time, I said, "Is it Elton John?" Because when you hear Rocket Man, he's tied in forever with that because of his song, right? That's the first thing you think of.
Right,
It's Rocket.
but the observation is they mumbled the wrong set of lyrics.
Well, maybe they were high when they were recording it, and so they mumbled the stuff that they felt like wasn't important. You know, it is a good song.
Okay,
Look
it's
at
on my
you
C list.
using me. All right. So can we talk about explain it?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm very,
Rocket
very, very
Man.
curious to get your opinion about this. As a woman, and I know I start a lot of statements this way, but it is my life experience, and so I can only share what I know.
We assume that you're speaking from your point of view, not somebody
As
who's
a
living
woman,
inside you.
as a woman, I have come from a world of always explaining myself, where no matter what, even if it's not even asked, like for example, I was talking to a group of friends on Zoom. We had some people on a Zoom. We were doing a catch up, and I told them 5 to 6, but jump in whenever. You don't have to explain yourself. Just we're just doing a catch up, right? It was all women, and women we do this, and I don't know if it's the world has made us or we feel like we have to do this. As they're coming in, they're, oh sorry, but and I would say, hey, you don't have to explain yourself. So we started talking about that. It has taken me such a long time to not explain myself when a situation comes up, because I've spent my entire life going, oh, I'm doing this because as a man, I have recognized the men that I know say, I'm doing this. There's no because or I need or oh I'm late. They're like, I'm here now. You tell me, have you noticed that?
Well, it's funny because I think I was watching a Saturday Night Live skit about how women are constantly apologizing for everything that they're doing.
Yes, it's real.
You know, I don't know if it was Saturday Night Live or something else, but I saw that and I go, you know, I'm sorry this, I'm sorry that, I'm sorry just like this, I'm sorry, you know, which is just negative and draining and not necessary, and it's not empowering. It's
No, it's
depowering. What's the opposite of empowering?
the opposite of empowering is
Unpowering.
is that a real word?
No, I just made it up. But yeah, I think it's sometimes best just to move forward. Now, you don't want to ever be rude, But if you've done something like you're 20 minutes late, you might offer a reason, and it's rude just to burst in and say, "Okay, hey, catch me up," or let's just keep going or whatever. I think you need to offer an excuse if you've been rude,
But
right?
it's not, yes, it's not about being rude. It's about everyday life. It's about, because I also explained on the Zoom, when you need to go, say, I'm going to go now. Don't
Right.
say, I'm going to go
Yeah, my
because.
kids are this. Don't give me. Yeah, exactly. We all know we got to. I like that thinking. I like that. Same thing.
It's,
Like if I'm on the phone with somebody, and the guy tells me, "Hey, I got a dip," the next words out of my mind is "Goodbye. Have a great day. We'll catch up another time." I never try to extend the sentence. If somebody says he's got to go, he's got to go.
it's a female thing, and I don't know if it's a cultural thing that I learned along the way, if it's something in my family. I don't know, but I will say all the women in my life, we talk about it a lot. We try very hard to just own where we are instead of explaining why and how we got there. It's a thing. I find it really hard. Just like the thing you and I talked about where when we start our shows, I didn't know you were waiting for me to speak first to check the sound. I didn't know that. I thought I was being polite by turning everything on and just sitting here quietly. And then you thought I was mind fucking you by not saying anything to be the person in power.
That's a little rough.
So you had to speak first. And I wasn't. I love that I was winning the game I didn't know I was playing.
She's not going to get this on me now. That's hilarious. It is hilarious. The same exact scenario interpreted two different ways.
Yes.
By the way,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I had nothing valuable to say at that point.
No, this reminds me of my mom and her famous way to leave a conversation.
Okay.
And as kids, it's funny, as kids, because there are 8 of us in the family, we all remember mother doing the same thing.
Okay.
She's like, hey, okay, I got to let you go now. I'll let you go now.
Oh.
The translation was, I need to go. I got stuff to do, but I'm going to let you go. It was an interesting little flip on the scenario. Like she's doing you a favor by letting you go.
Yes, I'm just going to let you go now. I'm going to remember that, because the joke that we started talking about during this time together was, it's hard to hang up the phone, or people are doing like FaceTiming and stuff, right? Because we're not seeing our friends as much. I mean, in Florida you are, but in other places you are. And so it's difficult to let go because everybody knows you're staying home.
Yeah, you can't pretend you're going somewhere.
Yes. So you feel like you have to make a reason to leave instead of saying, well, I'm going to let you go now, which I will totally use. What's your mom's first name?
Mary.
Thank you, Mary. That's a good one. That's a good one, Mary. I'm going to use that because
I mean, that was because as kids, we'd always think about, she's holding on to somebody, they're grasping a vine or something. I'm going to let you go. It's like, what's going on? It was an interesting visual that we'd had tied into that particular phrase that was my mom used all the time.
I like that. And I definitely want to hear from our female audience that are watching this, what they've used or how they feel about that. Because I will say, as a woman, it is something that's in us that makes us feel it's necessary.
All this apologizing.
Yeah. And its compliments are the same way. Did you ever see that really funny Amy Schumer thing where someone's like, girl, I love your jacket. She's like, oh no, I got it out of the trash. And, and women have the hardest time taking compliments. And I've recognized with men, if a man compliments me and I go, thank you, they're a little put off by it. They're like, well, aren't you? Don't you think you're fancy? Like, you started this. You cannot win. You cannot win. One of my jokes in stand-up was how I would belittle myself so much that I was wearing a dress to work. This is a true story. I was wearing a dress to work at HSN. And I'm not a big designer person. The money seems crazy. So I'm not a big designer person. I like to thrift and do things like that. So I had this cute dress on and someone said, oh, I love your dress. And I blurted out inappropriately, I got it at a garage sale. I haven't even washed it yet. Why did I have to vomit up that extra inappropriate? Like I was trying to go, no, I'm not special. I'm not, look, I'm dirty.
I'm dirty.
I'm so dirty.
Somebody died in this dress.
So I made that my tag, I had those t-shirts.
I know it. How many do you have left? How many ghosts you got left?
I don't know. I sold 6 that night, dude. I made 20. I sold 6. In the
Couple do. I
meantime, I
mean,
was giving them to friends, but it's still funny.
of
Like
course, that's wonderful.
I, it's uncomfortable when a man compliments you to just sit there with it and say, thank you.
Yes, that's very nice. It's a very nice trait to have, and it's a good thing to learn as a person.
If you get,
Accept a compliment.
do you struggle with it, or are you like, I feel like men are like, that's right, I'm the shit.
Let's see. Let's see who the president. Who was the president last time I got a compliment?
Are
Was it
you
Ford?
saying you
Ford
don't
or
get compliments
Carter?
as a man? You don't get compliments. No one says, good job, I'm proud of you, thanks for doing that. Like
You
you
know what?
were,
I got an amazing email the other day from.
okay.
I told you about this. The
Yes.
infomercial company I'm working for, and
Yes.
I said thanks, and I wondered if. But then I like I love this stuff, or just come. I do it anyway for free, something like that.
Yeah. Well, and in working in the industry in television, I'm sure people that don't work in it think that you get
Which is just
complimented.
about everybody else listening.
When you work in television, you don't get
Okay,
complimented
you
a
can't
lot.
say that 3 times in the show.
And again, working in live TV, here's what happens. You're constantly criticized. You're constantly told what you did wrong as
I
opposed to
know.
what you're in this industry. I've been treated so terribly about, why didn't you do this? Why did you say that? Why did you turn your head
Oh,
that way?
it's murder because a vendor is watching the show and
Yes.
he or she has a phrase that he or she wants you to
Yes.
say. And if you never get to that phrase, regardless if you said virtually the same thing in a different way,
Right.
it never works out. I had the same thing. I had the same thing when I was working editing infomercials,
Okay.
for Kevin Harrington. He's the king of the infomercial, right?
Yeah.
Like, we watched it together, and it's like, yeah, can you move that up? Hey, you put that up front, will you? Hey, get that in the middle, in the beginning, will you? I go, Kevin, we cannot start the show with 7 things.
Right.
Something has to, there's an order. But it's just funny how
Right.
you're
You're
saying,
always critiqued, and you have to learn to just not own that and listen to it and fix it the best way that you can. I mean, I think that's the hardest part about being out in the public is you are criticized a lot, and you have to learn what has value and what doesn't, because people are always going to say negative things.
how emotional how people get upset about, being on TV or whatever, the
Yes.
emotions are. I used to have people write reports when I was the director of on-air talent at
Okay.
HSN, and you get a report, and mostly just we had a glitch in the camera, this or the videotape that, but
Okay.
people were like emotional about what's going on. Sometimes you know, I hate this. If anybody screws up one more, I actually had a piece of paper that was ripped. They were writing so violently about everything that had gone wrong that day. That was like, calm down, calm down.
Yeah.
But
No, I
yeah,
mean,
but you cannot tie your self worth into
no,
those shows or that stuff because
no. And I
you'd be
don't,
depressed.
I mean, it could be like that with a lot of jobs, right? Where you're constantly getting critiqued. I don't really know because I've been in this industry so long, but I will say that strangers that don't know you feel very free and open to share how awful you are and what they dislike about you. And at this point, it's actually amusing to me
Right.
that someone that doesn't know me, if you want to give me a constructive criticism, absolutely. Oh, you know what? I should have explained that better. Thank you. I'll listen to you. But if you just want to tell me you think I'm a hooker, I feel like you probably have a lot more problems than I do, and I feel sorry for you. Now my dog's even upset. You hear
Ah,
me?
you got everybody. She's reflecting your chi, which is off kilter.
You know, my dog went to the vet yesterday. She's on some pain meds. She's not feeling great right now, so I'm really
Oh,
proud of her. She's really hanging in there. It
she's a
was
good
a long
girl.
night last night.
All right, you want to do last topic or the thought for the day before we say
Let's do
goodbye?
it. Yeah, let's do our thought. Do you have a really good thought for the day? I feel like we have imparted some great,
This is high level stuff.
some great,
Well,
some great
I've got, I do
wisdom.
have a topic, but I'll save it for when Steve's here. This will be very interesting.
Okay. Well, I'll give a quick tip because it's something that actually happened to me today for my work. I had some shows to do, and my last show was at a station in Texas. And after the show was over, we had a quick dialogue just, hey, how do you feel? Blah, blah, blah. And we talked about what was going on in the world today. And I shared my thoughts, and I said, I don't know where you stand. I'm just going to tell you. And it turned out to be a lovely conversation. And I'm glad that I didn't panic. and think I shouldn't share my thoughts because I might offend somebody, because it turned out it was exactly what this man needed to hear today. And he told me, thank you. You've warmed my heart. I'm glad to hear people feel that way because it's been a very stressful time. So my tip of the day would be go ahead and share, because you never know who you're going to reach. Why did you make big eyes?
Well, I'm thinking of Facebook, people sharing their political ideas.
It was more moral ideas about treating people properly. It wasn't so much about politics,
Oh,
honestly.
well, that's nice. That's
Yeah,
nice.
it was about,
Absolutely. We're all going to be dead in X amount of years. You might as well get what's on your mind, as long as it's coming from a loving place.
yeah, that's what it was. It wasn't about, here's how I feel. It
Let
was
me
about,
tell you what's what.
yeah, educate yourselves, people. No, it was about morals and treating people with kindness, and to have hope, because even though the world feels crazy right now, I am very hopeful that because of this pandemic, people are paying attention to things like never before. And I truly believe in the kindness of people. And I do think we're going to rise up from this.
Amen. My
Yeah.
name's Tom Wise,
I'm Melinda McKinsey.
and we thank you for stopping by and helping us unpack some shit with Wise and McKinsey.
We
We'll,
appreciate you.
we'll be we do. Please share if you enjoy, or give it to somebody. If you don't like it, tell a stranger and let them suffer as well.
It's a virtual gift.
And that's another one in the can. Steve Laszlo on Wednesday. That's something
That's
to look
right.
forward to. All right. Thank you. And then hit the button and stop.